Today, we are going to talk about the logical data structure within OpenRose. OpenRose is a free and open source requirements management application. OpenRose is published on GitHub, so you can go over to its GitHub location, which is github.com/openrose, and there you can click on the wiki area to see the documentation that is published for this application. The documentation comprises of several things. You have concepts, which are kind of requirements for the application itself, and then you have user guides, how to create different types of data, and then you also can see information about design decisions that were taken during the time when the application was getting developed. We will keep publishing more and more information in this particular location. Now, let's talk about the data structure. OpenRose starts with a repository. A repository is the main container in which we will allow users to create several projects. When the user creates the project, then we by default create one system item type called as parking lot. This is always there in every project, which means you can always rely on storing certain types of data in parking lot which will be available for your projects. The idea of parking lot is to put aside unfinished, undocumented ideas or concepts or certain types of requirements that you are not yet ready to take into your projects. It could be coming from stakeholder, from users, from testers, from the marketplace, from the industry regulators. There are certain types and certain kinds of requirements that you don't want to forget about. You just want to keep it in a parking lot, and then you can pull them in when you are ready to start working on it or start defining those requirements more in details. Anyhow, under the repository, you have one or many projects, and then inside the project, by default, you have parking lot item type, but users can define their own custom user-defined item types. Now, this is something users has to come up with the structure, how they want to store the data. In the example here, we are talking about business requirements, functional requirements, delivery requirements, but these are just concepts, these are just ideas how to perhaps structure your data within your project. Now, when you look at the item type, you have to consider item type as just a collection of requirements that are classified with certain type. It's a classification container. It doesn't really have its own data, but it allows you to, structure your project with classifications of type. It's very similar to, file system in which you have folder structure. Each subfolder or folder that you create is nothing but kind of types within a OpenRose project. Let me jump over to the concept of item type here, and we are again showing additional different examples of item types. So you can have stakeholder requirements, business requirements, user requirements, constraint requirement, material requirement, logistics requirement, people availability requirement, cost management requirement, and so forth. So here we have a small diagram which explains how data is structured primarily within OpenRose requirements management application. You have a single repository in which you can have 0 to many projects, and then in each project you can, by default, you will definitely have parking lot system item type, and then you can create your own user-defined custom item types. And within those item types, you can have requirements in a breakdown structure manner. So always we can see that level 0 is repository. So this is the main container. You can call it as ground level as we can think of it as level 0. Then you have level 1, which has to be project. That's the logical next layer of container inside the main container. Then level 2 is nothing but types or item types. And then level 3 onwards, you will have requirements. So level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, these are nothing but your requirements and the breakdown structure of your requirements. You can have very detailed, deep structure of requirements breakdown, but when it comes to level 0, 1 and 2, it has to be repository, project and type respectively. There is one more layer that we can talk about, which is nothing but baselines, but let's discuss about that in few minutes. When you store your data inside OpenRose application, generally you expect all your requirements to be associated with type and so being associated with the project. But we have taken a small decision about how we support orphan items, which are nothing but requirements which are sitting completely on the side at the repository level. So you cannot have a project which is sitting on the side. It will be always inside the repository. You cannot have a type just sitting on the side. It has to be contained within the project. But when it comes to requirement, you have a choice. Your requirements could be sitting on the side at the repository level, or it could be associated with the project via type container. Now, requirements which are orphan requirements, how do we create them? So we have designed OpenRose to automatically put all project requirements as orphan requirements when project is deleted. And that's the decision we have taken as part of the design decision here. So you can see in this example, we have repository, project, item type, and items which are requirements. And then you also have something called as orphan items. So let's consider a project containing few item types, and across those item types there is a breakdown structure of requirements. Let's say there are 50 requirements in a specific hierarchical structure. Some of them are at level 3 or 4 or 5 and so forth. Now when that particular project is deleted, then those 50 items, irrespective of their location in the structure, within the breakdown structure, all those items will be moved over to orphaned items. That means they are not associated with item type, they are not associated with the project, and they do not actually have any more structure as a hierarchical breakdown structure within themselves. These orphan items are just sitting on the side to be completely removed permanently or to be brought back into other projects if required. So creation of items within the project is straightforward, but when the project is deleted, those items by default goes and becomes orphan items. At the time of recording this video, we do not allow, or we do not have the feature in the product that would allow a single item which is associated with the project to be moved out of that project as an orphan item. There is a workaround for this. which is you create a temporary project in which you move the items that are not required anymore, and then you move them into that temporary project. You can call it as a recycle project or delete me project, or some temporary project in which you can throw or move items which are not required anymore. These items are nothing but requirements that you thought you will work upon, but then certain decisions were taken by your team, by your project, that we are not going to work on it. In such cases, you can move them into that temporary project, and later when you delete that project, all those items will become orphaned items. That's just a workaround for now. Now, in the data structure, we have kind of covered the main concepts here, which is you have repository, project, item type, items, and orphan items. But there is one more notion and the capability and the feature that is supported within OpenRose, which is called baselining or snapshots. We will talk more about baselining in future videos, but today I just wanted to show you where baseline data gets stored within this structure. So right now, baselines can be created against a project. It cannot be created against repository, and it cannot be created against items. It can only be created against the project. So that means you create the entire project snapshot. And the second way you can create the baseline is against a particular item type within the project. So let's say you have 5 different item types and you create baseline using one item type. Still, that baseline belongs to the project. That means all the baselines are stored inside the project. So if I take a snapshot of a project, entire project as a baseline, then the new baseline will be stored under that project, which means you will have repository, project, baseline, item type for that baselines, and then baseline items. So there is an additional data structure that is inserted for baselines in between project and item type. We will talk more about this in the future videos, but that's another small information that I wanted to add as far as the logical structure of data is concerned for OpenRose application. With this, we just would like to conclude this video and thank you for attending and listening to us and understanding how the data is structured within OpenRose requirements management application. We will appreciate if you share this information with others who would get benefit out of using the open sourced free OpenRose requirements management application. Thanks once again and have a great day. Bye.